Hey everybody, welcome back to another 10-minute Marvel video. I'm Petter, and today we're going to be talking about the teams for Avengers Doomsday. So it's recently come out, new rumor, for the various different teams for Avengers Doomsday. I actually got a lot of these correct when I did my initial the big chair reveal. Okay, who are these teams going to be? But I want to dive into these teams each a little bit more to help us understand who's potentially on these teams. And we're going to start with the two that we probably know the best. That being the New Avengers, or the Thunderbolts. But New Avengers is what we'll call them now. And then the X-Men. So you might be thinking, okay, what do we need to know about those teams? In particular, the X-Men might seem like we don't know a ton about that. We don't know the official X-Men team, but we've seen the casting of Patrick Stewart and Ian McKellen, so we know that, and others, so we know that we're going kind of classic X-Men actors here, Fox X-Men characters, and so that's why that one's kind of simplistic as well. Now, we don't have some of the characters yet from it. Halle Berry as Storm, notably not being in there yet. And I say yet because I think there's always a chance, or they might be trying to hide that and set that aside as a reveal. But it's going to kind of be that classic X-Men team, at least some of those characters. And then the Thunderbolts, we have the full Thunderbolts team there, including Bob, aka Sentry. And so I think, well, let's lay out potentially where these teams are. And that's, I think, where the interesting conversation potentially comes in. Because the X-Men team is going to be from a different universe. Is this a universe that is having an active incursion with Earth? Don't know. It seems very plausible, especially if they say that this is the universe that Monica Rambeau went into at the end of the Marvels, because then I think there's a real chance that what happened with her is going to cause an incursion. Even though she was able to close it, that for some reason there will be an incursion occurring. Otherwise, it would have to be somehow connected through Doctor Doom and through kind of multiversal travel, which is possible. I think we will see multiversal travel without incursions at some point in time in this movie, or in Doomsday, but I also think that we're going to have an incursion, and it really seems like probably the X-Men universe with this main MCU universe. And then obviously the Thunderbolts are here in the main MCU timeline. So we can maybe dive into what this tells us about the story towards the end here, though I really do want to keep this one focused on those teams. The next team is going to be Sam Wilson's Avengers. Now, we don't know officially who's going to be on this team, but with characters like Shang-Chi being announced for Doomsday, as well as, I believe, Mark Ruffalo's name was in there, Thor, Chris Hemsworth. So we're probably looking at some of the more OG Avengers characters. I think there's a real chance he got characters like Bruce Banner, like Thor, like Ant-Man onto his team. And then pulled in some new characters such as possibly Shuri, Black Panther, and then Shang-Chi for that team. And that probably rounds out most of the team. Obviously, I shouldn't say obviously, but Falcon also is an expectation for that team. So I think that makes sense as a team. And I fully expect that this is kind of going to be the main team of Avengers we focus on, with the New Avengers trying to play catch up in this film, and that this Avengers team is going to be the one that's really interacting with the X-Men a lot, with the Fantastic Four a lot, and that leads us to the next team, the Fantastic Four. We know all those characters are going to be in this film, and we even know from something that Kevin Feige said, there's several of those of the other characters who end up in the Fantastic Four universe, because it does seem to be the universe that Doom came from. So most likely they're going there to try and deal with Doom in some sort of fashion, and will encounter and interact with the Fantastic Four there. And I'm assuming Reed is going to play a fairly important role in understanding kind of the multiversal implications of everything that's happening. This idea of incursions, what Doom is doing, things like that. The last two teams, I think, are the ones that we know the least about at this point. The first being Team Loki. Now, Team Loki does seem like it could pull in characters like B20 or B13, Hunter B13, Mobius, potentially Sylvie, potentially characters like that who are connected with the TVA. I hope like Ouroboros, Obi, shows up in there as well. Deadpool and Wolverine actually make a lot of sense to drop in there as well. Now, I say that it's very possible that Wolverine shows up with the X-Men side of things and it's just another variant Wolverine. But if they pull the one in from Deadpool and Wolverine, I think that makes more sense on the multiversal Loki team, because they understand or have been through some of the process of the multiverse. They know about the void at the end of time, which I still kind of think may end up being where the bulk of Secret Wars is set. And that, I mean, that's a fairly large team, a fairly large number of characters to potentially be on that team. I don't necessarily think Hunter B13 is going to be on that team. It's just she's somebody who could make sense there. I think it's more likely you end up with a smaller team where it's something like Loki, Sylvie, Obi, Mobius, I mean, not Morbius, certainly not Morbius, Mobius, and Deadpool. Like creating a team of 5 characters that way, and then you potentially have Wolverine with the X-Men. And that brings us to the final team here, which is Doom's team. Now, Doom's team, we really don't know much of anything about. Who else is going to team up with Doom? And I think there's some interesting options for this. In the Time Runs Out storyline in the comics, Doom doesn't really have much of a team. Doom works with Doctor Strange, mainly because Doctor Strange understands what's happening to some extent to the universe, and the idea of the Beyonders, and how Doom is basically trying to do what he can to save the universe, but is choosing to be the one to pick and choose how that's done. So I don't necessarily think Doctor Strange and Clea are going to be part of Doom's team, but they could interact with Doom. I still think there's a very strong chance that Doctor Strange 3 is the movie in between Doomsday and Secret Wars. And if that's the case, then you're probably limiting how much Strange is in here, and you're making that one really the incursion-focused film with multiple, like a large number of incursions occurring in that film. This one really focused on the singular incursion between the main MCU and the X-Men universe. So, if we say those are less likely, I think it is interesting that the actor who plays Proxima Midnight has been rumored to be cast in Spider-Man Brand New Day. Now, this is some context for the actor's relationship with Marvel at one point in time, and any relationship can be repaired with money, especially in a very business type of relationship. And nobody's going to say no and completely blacklist themselves or remove themselves from ever working with one of the biggest film companies out there, with Disney. But it is rumored that the actor who plays Proxima Midnight is going to be part of Spider-Man Brand New Day. Now that's a little bit weird. However, I think it could make sense as a post-credit scene or something like that, or this character who's in the background and working on Earth. Now, I mentioned Infinity War and Endgame and kind of the relationship there, because she was not part of Endgame because of a contract dispute. She wanted to be paid more money for it. And that means she wasn't part of the final battle, which means theoretically she hasn't been taken out in the snap. So I like the idea of bringing her in. Beyond that, who are we really looking at as possible villains here who could join up with Doom's team? I think Cassandra Nova could be interesting if they create some other version of her. That was such a good performance in Deadpool and Wolverine, kind of the highlight of that movie, beyond just the fact that, hey, it's a comedy. Or then I think you could look at actors like, or characters like Paradox, also from Deadpool and Wolverine, somebody who has that understanding of the multiversal side of things. Now, I might have said Kang, but I think they're just going to kind of leave Kang alone. I'd love it if they were to do The Maker, have Pedro Pascal kind of play an evil version of Mr. Fantastic from another universe. I think that would be really interesting. Josh Brolin back as Thanos from another universe, I think could be really fun as well to be part of that Doom team. I also haven't mentioned one character who potentially could show up on the Doom team or part of this cabal, because they say Doom's team. I kind of think that this could be like a combination of working with Doom and the Cabal from the comics. And in the Cabal from the comics, Namor works with them. And I think that that could be an interesting thing to have Namor work on the dark side of things and really be looking, much like he was in Black Panther Wakanda Forever, for the survival of his people and looking out for his people, because that would make sense for his character to then go after the X-Men world and to maybe team up with Doom, who is promising some sort of solution, something like that. But those are the teams that are rumored. We've previously had a rumor of kind of a Wakandan group, which could be interesting as well. I tend to think that they'll get wrapped into maybe Sam Wilson's Avengers. Obviously, there are certain characters who are not going to be part of any particular team either. So Wakandan characters might just be kind of their own characters, and Shuri might be the main connecting piece across everything. But let me know, what are your thoughts? What do you think of having so many different teams in one movie? Now, a lot of them will be working kind of towards the same goal, same direction as some of the others, but it has the potential to be really kind of unique and different that way. So let me know your thoughts down in the comment section below. If you enjoy this content, please give the video a thumbs up. Subscribe to the channel and click that notification bell too to know when new videos are coming out, as well as check out the 10-Minute Marvel podcast. You can find that here on YouTube. Click onto the channel and then the podcast tab, or you can search for 10-Minute Marvel wherever you get your friendly neighborhood podcasts from. But with that, we will see you next time.